Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 99 of Crunch Time. I'm going to be your host for today's episode. I am Tanner Dislin, and as always, I am joined by Sam Godsey, and we are the N326 duo. Sam, how does it feel to have internet, to be able to
Dude,
sit here, and to be able to finally record a podcast episode? Oh, and not to mention football is
dude,
officially
everything
back.
is back, Tanner. It's a great time. Yeah, we kind of went through the ringer with no Wi-Fi for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. That's why we didn't have an episode last week. But what a time to make a return. College football week one coming up this weekend. It's gonna be electric, man. And yeah, as everyone says, it's the most wonderful time of the year,
Most
baby.
wonderful time of the year. And not to mention, shortly thereafter, we have basketball coming back. We've got hockey starting up and
Yeah.
playoff baseball all on the horizon. So make sure to follow and subscribe because we're going to have a lot of episodes coming out. We are
Yeah.
back to an every week
Weekly.
schedule
Yeah.
again. So round of applause. We'll be
Yeah, yeah,
back.
yeah.
We'll be back. But in today's episode, we're going to cover a little bit of week 0. We mentioned football is officially back.
Yep.
We had college football games last week. We're going to start with winners and losers as we always do. Then get to week 0. Got a few documentaries to recap, ones that we saw recently.
Yeah.
The BS High about Bishop Sycamore and the Johnny Manziel documentaries are the ones that we checked out. Haven't quite gotten to the Swamp Kings one yet, but we will by next episode.
Next episode or two for sure.
For sure. And then we got a little bit of an Iowa outlook. I know we did we went through the schedule and predicted how many games we think they're going to win, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth now, talk about some key storylines for the Hawkeyes this year, and we're going to end with we also have the return of Pick'em.
Yep.
This year, we'll get to a revised format this year, but we got Pick'em coming back, and then we'll end with questions. So we got an action-packed episode for you guys. So I'm ready to get into it. So we will start with winners and losers. So Sam, who is your winner of the episode?
Yeah, my winner is the California Little League World Series team. They end up winning the Little League World Series, and they did it in Hollywood like fashion. Late in the game, Lewis Lappy hit a walk-off homer following a Curacao grand slam in the 5th inning to tie the game. So, movie like ending as the California team won the Little League World Series.
Hard to beat that.
Yeah.
Hard. It's a little bit of a tough look when you arguably the peak of your life happened in Little League, but
Yeah.
still one of the coolest moments of all time. It's just going to be one of those when he's going to be 42 and talking about that walk-off home run for the rest of his life. So what an absolute beast. Great moment.
Yeah.
My winner is going to be a pitcher by the name of Steven Strasburg. He was a pitcher for the Nationals. He was probably the most highly touted pitching prospect we've had in the last 10 years or so. When he came up, he was put under innings limits. He had surgery on his arm and was even put under more strict innings limits. Well, he retired. So, first off, congratulations on a great career or a good career. Probably one that is a little bit frustrating if you are Steven Strasburg, the way it ended up. But he got a World Series MVP in that 2019 season when the Nationals won the World Series. But in 2016, he signed a 7-year, $175 million extension to stay with the Nationals. But since then, through a whole bunch of injuries, shortened seasons, all of the above, he ended up that contract didn't end up working out. Little stats about that contract, Sam, if you will. Steven Strasburg made $460,000 per pitch thrown. He made $2.6 million per out.
There you go.
He made $7.8 million per innings pitch and $30.6 million per start.
Nice.
Now, all those stats are from Part of My Take. Thank you for giving me the ammo, but go ahead and listen to them if you want to hear more on this. But yeah, so the contract didn't quite work out. But if you're Steven Strasburg, you have a World Series MVP, you have a World Series championship. You were one of the highly touted prospects in a long time. Everyone knew who you were. You got an absolute bag, and you really didn't have to work very hard for
Yeah.
it. So I'd say that's material for a winner. What do you
Yeah,
think?
absolutely.
Yeah, so a little bit of a tough look, maybe a loser if you're a Nationals fan, but for me, winner, all-time bag getter. But Sam, let's take a look on the other side of things. Who's your loser for the episode?
Yeah. Speaking of bag getters, this dude was trying to get one, and that is Nebraska tight end Arik Gilbert. He was arrested Tuesday on burglary charge. According to arrest records, he was arrested at a vape shop in Lincoln, Nebraska
Nice.
at 2 a.m. while carrying a bag containing $1,600 worth of products from the store. He was a former 5-star, went to Georgia, didn't get the playing time he wanted, so he was in the process of waiting on his eligibility to play for the Cornhuskers this upcoming season. But I don't think that's gonna be happening anytime soon after this incident.
It doesn't look like it. The vape shop makes it
Yeah.
perfect. One like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, he's trying to break into a vape shop.
yeah, that's tough.
Hilarious.
That's tough.
Hilarious. Well, not a good look for our boy, but my loser of the episode, Sam. Let's go overseas.
Yeah.
Let's go down to the Philippines, where there is a basketball tournament going on, the FIBA World Cup, and one of the favorites, one of the better teams in the world, has been eliminated after just 2 games. That would be France. France, a team with a lot of NBA talent on there, including Evan Fournier, Rudy Gobert, Nick Batum. So, yeah, after 2 games, they lost their first 2, and they are sent home. They got absolutely smoked by Canada. And then they ended up losing to Latvia as well. And blew a 13-point lead late in the game. I think it was 95-65 to Canada. And then, blew that 13-point lead for 88-86 to Latvia. Not a good look for one of the favorites in the tournament. They have been eliminated, as I said. And they're the hosts of the next Olympics.
Yeah, that's tough.
So, however, it looks like reinforcements are on the way. There's a good chance they will get Victor Wembanyama for their next team. And also, I didn't know this, but a little guy, you might know him. He recently acquired French citizenship. He goes by the name of Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
So he might be also on that team as well. So maybe they're retooling for the Olympics, but right now, not a good look for the eventual hosts of the next tournament.
Yeah, not great. Not great. And to cap it off, I think Dylan Brooks put Rudy Gobert on a poster during that Canada game. So that's just icing on the cake, honestly.
Yeah, that's not great. That's not great. And I love the overreactions. Because obviously you're frustrated if you're one of these French guys. But you see what Nick Batum said, he was scared to go home.
Oh, my God.
I'm scared to go home because we let a lot of people down. A lot of people believed in us to do something. They believed in us, and we didn't do it.
Yeah, that's tough.
A little bit of an overreaction.
Just a little bit.
But
just a little bit.
That's how the cookie crumbles. Tough look for France. But let's move on, man. Let's keep the engine rolling before we get into the actual live football games and our eventual pick'em and questions. We did some documentary watching over this past week, saw some absolutely crazy things. So we're going to talk about a little bit, just 2 of them. I mentioned them before, the Bishop Sycamore, one called BS High, that's on HBO, and then the Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football on Netflix. Which one do you want to start with?
I mean, let's start with Johnny Manziel. The Johnny Manziel doc's been out a little longer. So
Yep. What are your thoughts? Like, what?
Crazy.
Yeah, absolutely crazy.
It's definitely nostalgic, though. I mean, I remember when he was playing at A&M, the Bama game specifically, and his all-white unis, just doing stuff we kind of never seen before. And to see like what all went behind the scene, because we knew what was going on, right? This was before NIL. It was all paid under the table, right? And it was crazy. He was a big man on campus, and that got to him, and basically affected his entire career following A&M. I mean, obviously everyone's seen the clip.
Yeah.
0 film on his
The
iPad.
agent
Yeah.
with the quote, and then the straight cut to Johnny doing this with the 0.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. But yeah, no, I'm definitely right there with you. I think, well, first off, kind of not a very serious note, not the meat of the documentary, but how Johnny Manziel was the first freshman to win the
Yeah.
Heisman.
It's crazy to think
Wild.
about. Yeah.
Wild. That's Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
Obviously he was awesome, but it's still like, wow.
Yeah.
And then, yes, I mean, seeing his rise to fame and how the offensive coordinator was Cliff Kingsbury, another thing
Yeah.
I didn't know. But hearing him talk about how it was like the first game we were too structured. We didn't let Johnny be Johnny. And then
Yeah.
the next game they came in, they're like, screw it. Go play football. Go make
Yeah.
plays. And that's exactly what he did. And how playing loose like that was the way he wanted to go. And then even his time in college, he played football to be able to party afterwards.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. That was just always the way he was.
That was his motivation, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I personally can't blame this guy for maybe wanting to profit over his name, image, and likeness that's making Texas A&M, the SEC, NCAA gajillions upon gajillions of dollars. And yeah, so that's all interesting to see, and you can kind of see his point of view and then exactly what goes on mentally for someone to fall from grace like that. So it was really, really interesting stuff. Definitely go check it out. Some heavy there were some heavy notes in there, so a little bit of a warning on that front, but it's absolutely great. Great documentary, some sad stuff in there, but you get to see what happened. I mean, that was always something that I wondered, like, even when he went to the NFL, he just kind of faded to nothing.
Yeah.
He didn't even really get that story. So that was great. Yeah. Anything else on our boy Johnny Manziel?
I mean, yeah, there's some memorable moments throughout the doc. I think one thing you mentioned, all the donations, 700 million after Johnny Manziel went to A&M. That's just another thing. Another thing, he wanted to be a Longhorn. Grew up a Texas Longhorn. Texas didn't want him, went to A&M, and we all saw how that turned out. The memorable drug test, having the 4-string take him for him.
Classic.
Your dad's in the hospital story.
Oh my gosh, that was crazy.
How is he affording to sit outside? Oh, he comes from money, which was just just
straight up lies.
And then just like everybody wasn't like his grandpa was a fallout for where the money come from, oil money, which you can do in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, we'll explain that a little bit. I mean, yes, if you haven't seen it, a little bit of a spoiler, but when he started spending the money he was making, they had to make up a lie that his family was rich, and that so then that was the whole story, that he came from oil money. And then he was clean, and everyone was making sure he was clean going into his combine. And then like the night before the combine, he broke and he went out and partied.
Yeah.
Was no longer clean. And they made up some lie that his dad was in the hospital. Or I guess technically it wasn't a lie because they made him check into the hospital, but it was kind of a fake check-in. And so he could leave before the drug test to go be with his dad in the hospital. Yeah. Insanity. Absolutely. Absolutely crazy. Insane. Definitely check it out if you haven't. Get you behind the scenes of Division I program, the NFL, for someone as crazy as Johnny Manziel. Yeah. So now let's move on to the second one, which is certainly, in my opinion, I think yours too, the crazier of the two.
I think it's the craziest documentary
I've ever seen. It might be. This one, BS High on HBO, the story of Bishop Sycamore. So I'm going to do the same thing, man. Take it away.
Yeah. So for y'all who don't remember, it was like mid 2010s. High school ended up playing ESPN, or what we thought was a high school, ended up playing Powerhouse IMG Academy. Got absolutely slaughtered. 58-0, I think, was the final. Comes to find out they're not high schoolers. It's a fake school. They're like 20 to 21-year-olds looking for another shot, getting grades up. And kind of so that was kind of the big story. This fake school got on this national scale, and then this documentary dives deep into it, brings the head coach, the guy who made this, and it'll leave you speechless. I know it left me and Tanner speechless, but the things he did to these poor kids, man, was sad.
So sad. Like unbelievable how someone like this is able to walk free in the world and continue to do his thing. Yeah, I had known shockingly little about the story.
Yeah, you'd
Um,
think with a story like this, it would have, but you heard about it, watched the highlights, and was like, "All right, that's it." And then this comes out.
yeah, this comes out. I mean, it kind of going through the high level synopsis. I mean, what? So they started out as a Christians of Faith in
Christians of
UCLF,
faith.
and they
Yeah,
were actually affiliated with the church. And
yeah.
shortly thereafter, the church backed out, and our boy Roy Johnson,
Roy
head coach,
Johnson.
decided that we don't need them, and he was just running this without a school. And
Yeah,
they were basically an AAU team that had no money, that tried to
yeah,
sell it off as a school and play in scholastic
yeah.
athletics. And the stories of whenever they stay in a hotel, they just wouldn't pay.
Yeah,
They would move from like apartment complex to apartment complex like 3 months at a
3 months
time
because you get the first 3 month leases.
because they'd get
Three.
evicted right away and wouldn't
Yeah,
pay anybody. And as you were saying, the thing he did to the kids made a lot of the kids take out the leases in their
yeah,
name, destroying their credit. Made kids
yeah.
take out
PPP loans,
PPP loans
because
to
it
pay for
happened.
school.
Yeah,
Um, insane, man. Like I just and his apathy towards it, the way he just doesn't care.
no, he's
Oh my god.
yeah. Um, and come to find out, I saw this on TikTok earlier. They interviewed somebody that was somehow involved in this story. They played IMG before the ESPN game, and they lost. So 58 to
So they paid
6.
twice.
So they played him twice.
Oh my god.
Also, before the IMG game, that's another crazy part. They played a game 2 days before, which is completely illegal. They're based in Ohio, the OHSAA, Ohio High School Athletic Association has a big rule. And basically, this Johnson dude said, "Well, we're not part of that." Just going through, you need to watch this even if you don't like sports. It's insane. Um, just this, it gets crazier and crazier, and it probably ends on the craziest note. We'll let you watch that part. So no spoilers here, but yeah,
Yeah, and just to throw a little bit that IMG Academy game on ESPN, a game where the announcers basically figured out in real time that this was a fake school
yeah,
and that the team would like they were getting
yeah.
the wrong rosters and they didn't have the numbers. They didn't have the final score of the game was 58 to nothing. It actually took place in 2021, so a lot more recent
Oh,
than
really?
originally thought.
Yeah,
Um,
that makes sense with the PPP
yeah,
loans.
yeah, PPP loans, yeah. And what was it? Two people tore their ACLs.
Two people tore their ACLs. They're sharing helmets. Their starting quarterback like tore his shoulder.
Yeah, dislocated his shoulder or something. Two ACLs in the first half. Surely, or believe it or not, a fake school and a fake athletics program does not have a trainer.
Yeah, believe it. It was is a quarterback's mom, I think. Yeah,
who was down there doing it, and then ESPN and the people on the sidelines were like shocked that no one came out to help this guy who had a torn ACL.
Yeah,
and the coaches were telling him, "Get back in there, get back in there." Unbelievable. And one thing in particular that I want to point out that really kind of sickened me was not Roy Johnson, but the other coach.
Yeah,
that was there during the interview. He wore a Bishop Sycamore pullover the entire time, almost like he was proud of it.
Yeah,
he didn't shy away. He was like, "Yeah, I'm involved with Bishop Sycamore. Look at my shirt. Look at my thing." And that's just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, are you not ashamed of this? Like, this is a badge of honor for you.
Uh-huh.
And that really, really sickened me. And of course, yeah, hearing everyone talk about it just
Yeah.
and how it affected their future.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Crazy.
it's
We
a
can't do it. We can only say it's crazy so many times. We can't
yeah.
do it enough justice. You have to watch this. It's on. Sorry, we've been lying this whole time. It is on Max. It is on Max streaming.
It is
service.
produced,
It is produced
by
by
HBO Sports. So
It is produced by
so
HBO.
yeah,
But it's
even
on Max.
even if you don't have Max, give free trial.
Yeah,
and
do
watch
something.
this.
You have to watch this. It was
We
absolutely
could literally make a whole episode based on this. But we want y'all to dive into it, see what your thoughts are. So let us know.
yeah.
Because we
please
were
do.
dumbfounded.
Absolutely dumbfounded. Yeah, he said it. We could talk about it for hours and hours, but we won't. We will let you go ahead and watch it. We're going to keep the train moving. We're going to
do it.
dive into some college football. Do we want to talk about week 0?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about week 0, man. The main game where we're going to start, of course, is Notre Dame versus Navy. Sam Hartman, still that guy.
Sam Hartman played phenomenal. 251 yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, it was in Dublin, Ireland, which of course the Fighting Irish are getting kick ass in Ireland. Sad to see the Navy go down so sadly. 42-3 was the final. They were held scoreless through the first 3 quarters. Finally got 3 in the fourth. But yeah, Sam Hartman started out his campaign with the Irish with a bang, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, I got nothing to add there. The Irish were completely dominant. Kind of was thinking our Navy would be a little bit better in Europe. Usually it is.
Yeah, you think, right?
But our boy Ty Levitai, the quarterback for Navy, put in a swift 3 for 6 with 43 yards. Classic Navy stat line, triple option.
Probably had like 200 rushing yards.
Yeah, I remember in the third quarter. He had like -3 passing yards.
There you go.
Levitai put in 23 rushing yards. So.
Not a typical Navy.
He was their 4th leading rusher.
Tough.
Yeah, it was.
You hate to see that.
Not much going on for the midshipmen offensively. Notre Dame was every bit as strong as you'd hope. Definitely very encouraging if you're a Fighting Irish fan. Yeah, well, we're 2 big Sam Hartman guys. We watched him in QB1.
Yeah,
he was great at Wake Forest last year. Led him to a top 25 ranking. It's something I can't remember Wake Forest football really ever having. So seeing him go to a kind of a big time school should be a lot of fun to watch. We will be big time Sam Hartman defenders. Any other games coming to mind? That was kind of the main one. I mean, looking at some of these, like Hawaii hung in there against Vandy.
Speaking of that game, did you see the scoreboard at Vandy?
Sure did.
So for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, go look it up on Twitter. Vandy is in the middle of like a $300 million renovation or something like that. And they have not finished the one of the end zones of the football stadium. And of course, Hawaii traveled to Nashville to play the Commodores, and they didn't have a scoreboard on one of the end zones. So they had a genius plan: take 2 cranes, rig up a video board, and call it good.
Dude, that checks out to me.
Little did they know it'd be windy as hell and terrible weather.
It happened.
I think it was actually delayed for inclement weather. Because I know the video of the scoreboard swaying, it says inclement weather on it. So yeah, kind of tough.
Not great.
So that was just kind of one of the moments of week 0. But I mean, USC, Caleb Williams,
USC
front runner,
taking care of business.
I mean, USC with a guy like Caleb Williams, 278 yards, 4 tutties. They're kind of a front runner to make it to college football playoffs. But 28 points to San Jose State.
Yeah, it's going to be the same story as it was
Yep,
last year, right?
right?
They're just going to score a lot of points. They're going to give up a lot of points.
Kind of like a typical Pac-12 team,
There you go.
minus
go.
Utah, I guess.
Minus Utah. But yeah, this team's going to go as far as that defense allows them to. You're absolutely right. Also want to give a shout out to the Minutemen, UMass, winning their first game this year. They are 1-0. They're undefeated. Took down New Mexico State, scoring 41 on the road.
Okay.
Maybe new things are brewing over in Massachusetts, huh?
Yeah.
Over in Amherst, those UMass Minutemen, baby. But yeah, not a ton going on here.
Yeah.
San Diego State taking down Ohio. That's pretty much it. We kind of
typical,
covered it.
Typical week 0, one good game, get us a little taste of that college football action. But let's be honest, Tanner, the real action starts this week.
The real action starts this week. I'm so excited for it. Hot take, I am excited for college football. Who would have thought? So we might as well spend some time talking about our favorite team, our alma mater. Both of us are Iowa grads.
Let's go, baby.
If you're listening now,
you know
this by now.
Think, right?
So we're going to talk about the Hawkeyes a little bit. A big time season, a little bit of change, a little bit of more of the same, a little bit of interesting contracts coming in here. Yeah. So Sam, with all of that coming in, give us a few storylines. Yeah. What are you looking for with this Iowa football team?
Obviously, we know what to expect from Iowa. They're going to have amazing defense, and that this year it's going to be led by a projected first rounder, Cooper DeJean, absolute stud. And then the former 5-star who didn't get a whole lot of playing time last year, with all the experience in our secondary, but still balled out when he was on the field, Xavier Wampa. So that we knew we were going to have a stellar defense.
And might I add real quick, Xavier Wampa got 1 star in the secondary in the bowl game.
He had a pick six. Yeah.
This kid might be able to play.
And then they got a lot of offensive weapons. Can the dog water of an offensive coordinator, Brian Ferentz, lead an offense? If he can't, there's going to be some changes coming to Iowa football next year.
I think we can be more specific. Not only can he lead an offense, can he score 25 points per game and win 7 or 8?
7 games.
And win 7 games.
You know what? Let's just dive into that. So before I dive into the weapons he's receiving, this was announced February of last year after Iowa's season was over. Brian Ferentz got a extension, but there were two caveats. Thank you. Averaging 25 points, which is below the NCAA average. So he has to be below average, and he has to win 7 games. What's weird to me, Tanner, is it does not say 25 offensive points.
Look, if he saves his job because of some defensive touchdowns, I don't even know what to say. I truly don't.
So let's take a little trip down terrible memory lane. So Brian Ferentz became the Iowa offensive coordinator in 2017. So since Brian Ferentz has been the offensive coordinator, they have averaged the 77th ranked points per game during his tenure. 2017, 28.2. That was 66th nationally. 2018, 31.2, 43. 2019, 25.8, which was tied for 88th.
Qualified. 2020,
31.8, 40.
Qualified.
And then it just went downhill from there. 21, 23.4, which was 99th in the country.
Ooh.
And then 2022, 7, 131.
7.
Because that was just offensive.
Right. So now, what I find so funny about this, obviously, the points per game thing is going to be the big one because last year the offense was obviously historically bad. 7 points per game
Yeah.
on the offensive end. They still won 8 games.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
why throw the 7 game caveat in there?
Uh-huh.
I mean, like, what on earth is
Yeah.
happening here?
So let's dive in a little deeper into this, shall we? Let's do passing yards per game.
Okay, there we go.
2017, 190 .2 passing yards per game. That was 93rd. The top 50th percentile threshold was 233. 2018 was 226.6. That's 71st. The 50th percentile was 232.7. 2019, 228.9. That's 68th nationally. The 50th percentile was 233. 2020, 197.6, 97th. Again, top 50th was 230.3. 21, 180.1. That's 109 nationally, and 234.8, top 50th. And then 2022, 100.5, which was 127th. 246 was the top 50th percent.
So we've never been above average.
No,
Never been above average under Brian Ferentz.
no. Should we go to rushing too? Because
might as well hit.
Why not, right? Averaged 89th during ranked offense and rushing yards during his tenure, 2017. So the top 50th through his tenure range from 161.5 at its lowest to 169.1. So that kind of gives you the top 50th range within this span. But 2017, 139.2, that's 96 nationally. 2018, 148.4, that's 94th nationally. 2019, 137.6, that's 97th nationally. 2020, we did good. 171, 58th nationally. And then 2021, 123.6, which was 101st. In 2022, 57.5, 127.
So between passing and rushing, that's 10 offensive categories. And we were above average for 5 years, right? 5 years under Ferentz, 2 passing and rushing. So that's a total of 10 offensive categories. We were above average 1 time.
Yep.
In 2020 rushing.
Yeah.
In a 6-game season or whatever the Big Ten did.
Yeah, whatever they did. Yeah, we're nasty. They give us one shout out to HawkeyesWire.usa today for providing all this. Let's just do it. Completion percentage again ranging from 58.5 at its lowest to 61.8 for the top 50th percentile to give you kind of that range. 2017, 56.1%. That was 93rd. 2018, 59.3%. That was 67th. 2019, 59.1%. That was 78th. 2020, 56.9%, 95th. 2021, 55%. That was 114th. And then 2022, 44.2. That was 126th.
So now that's 15 categories.
Yeah.
And we have been above average in 1.
We're sick.
2020 rushing.
We're sick. We're nasty, Tanner.
Yeah, this offense is great. So the story to watch is the offense.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of new names coming to this team. Obviously, headlined by Cade McNamara. Was at Michigan battling it out with JJ McCarthy for that starting spot towards ACL. That's another headline coming into this season. Is he fully back? But we got Caleb Johnson coming back, who was our best running back last year. I don't think there's much debate about that. Nico Reganey coming back for his 19th year as a Hawkeye. Deontay Vines, a young guy we saw last year. We got 2 wide receivers transferred in this year. Why you would come to a dog water offensive program as Iowa is. We got Caleb Brown from Ohio State. What? I mean, come on in.
Come on in. We'll take you. You won't get the ball, but we'll take you.
And then this is more I would like. But he's been killing it in training camp lately. Seth Anderson from Charleston Southern. Then we have Luke Lachey coming back at tight end, and we added Eric All from Michigan came alongside with Caden McNamara. So a lot of offensive weapons coming in for the Hawkeyes this year. It's truly going to be the biggest test for Brian Ferentz and that offensive staff because we haven't had this much offensive talent in a while.
Yeah, should be a much improved offense, right?
You think?
You'd think. Another thing, of course, you have to bring up the health of Cade McNamara.
Yeah.
From what we've heard, he is back practicing, although not doing the complete, the full practice. And his status for the game against Utah State in week 1 is in question. Definitely something to monitor and see if that lingers at all, because very quickly, week 2, you got to play Iowa State, first off, another Power 5 team, but a big in-state rivalry game. Cade McNamara's first taste of that. I also want to bring up, of course, we're sticking to the offensive side, that offensive line.
Yeah.
When you were reading all those stats about percentiles and yards per game, obviously 1 of 15, not great. The one category we were closest in, it felt like, was rushing, and that was the one category we were able to exceed and be in the top 50% in. But without the offensive line, last year's offensive line was absolutely horrible. They got bullied, they got bruised, they got battered, sacks, running for plays blown up in the backfield, way too many to count.
Yeah.
So will this offensive line be better this year is a huge, huge thing for these Hawkeyes, and there's no reason to believe they shouldn't be. So we'll stick with that.
Yeah.
That defense should be as good as always, and this should be a much improved Iowa team. So this begs the question, Sam. This is a question from Peyton White. He wants to know the question that we've all been wondering: does Cade McNamara push Iowa over the hump?
This one's interesting. To be honest with you, Tanner, I've had my concerns since Cade McNamara came on campus. Coming off a ACL injury is never a good injury to coming off. And going down in training camp or spring game or whatever scrimmage, he got hurt. I think he has the potential to. He's leaps and bounds ahead of Petrus, even with a torn ACL. To answer the question, yeah. How can you not, right? It's like you said, 8 games were won with that putrid offense at a competent quarterback.
One who's made the college football playoff, might I add.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it all obviously it depends on what you say is pushing Iowa over the hump. The team is just simply put probably not good enough to make the college football playoff. Obviously, stranger things have happened. I don't want to, say anything is impossible. Iowa's not going to make the college football playoff. They're not going to beat a Michigan or Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game if they make it that far. So pushing them over the hump, if that's make it to the Big Ten championship game, I think he might do that.
Yeah.
Not only, as we said, competent offense, what I was able to do last year with historically incompetent offense. But also the schedule is a very favorable schedule.
Absolutely.
Really, what is it? Penn State.
Penn State
is the and then your usual Big Ten West, which is like maybe Wisconsin will get you. Well, they certainly get us all the time, but in terms of quality programs, Wisconsin really is the only one that's like you look at it and you're a little bit scared, but then you have Penn State. So that should be a very, very winnable, if not Iowa be the favorite to come out of the Big Ten West. So in that sense of the word, I think it totally does. But this team isn't really going farther than that at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else you want to talk about our Hawkeyes before the season starts?
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. A lot of unknowns, I feel like. A lot of new faces. Phil Parker's gonna have his boys ready. Tory Taylor coming back, greatest
So, I
punter
mean,
of all time.
of course, we talked about our Cooper DeJean and Xavier Wampa. We do got to shout out some other guys who are coming back, like Logan Lee on that
Yeah,
defensive line, and Joe Evans, who was an absolute beast alongside Jack Campbell last year, and that outside linebacker, defensive end position. So yeah, the pass rush should still be there. That secondary we
Yeah.
talked about. So I'm should be good.
should be interesting.
Should be good. I will say defense will be good, but the offense, of course, is
A lot of
our
questions.
concerns lie. One more thing I do have to shout out. Of course, it's Iowa football. We're looking at the fullbacks. Starting fullback Hayden Large.
Oh, this dude's a beast.
What a perfect last name, because this dude is large. He's 6'5", 250 as
What a unit.
fullback.
What a unit.
Insane. And then the backup fullback honestly has a better name than the starting.
No way.
His name is Rusty Van Wetsinga.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
I think I'm pronouncing it right. Rusty Van Wetsinga.
We'll probably hear it week 1 here with
Yeah,
the
hopefully.
classic fullback dive on
Yeah.
3rd and 1.
Get both of them in there.
Yeah.
Give me that large Wetsinga double team. Yeah, that's enough about our Hawkeyes. Some great names, some great defenders, some not great offense, but hopefully that will change this year.
Hopefully. One can only hope, right?
One can only hope. And who knows, maybe they don't score 25 points per game and Brian Ferentz gets fired.
Yeah.
And we can usher in a new era in Hawkeye football. How great would that be?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That would be nice, but only time will tell. But with that, we're going to move on. We have got Pick'em, the return of Pick'em. It should be a lot of fun. We got a whole new format this year. Last year, we were doing monthly punishments and weekly punishments and this, that, and the other. We decided to scrap all that. It was a little too hard to keep track of.
I think we missed a week or two.
We missed
Thanksgiving.
weeks. We might still owe punishments. Obviously, we weren't very great with that. So we decided to scrap it all. And what we're doing is we're just going to keep a total tally. And at the end of the year, whoever loses has to do a punishment. Now, do we want to lock in that punishment now?
Yeah, sure.
Let's
see what the listeners come up with.
I like that idea. We have something in mind. We're not married to it yet. So please let us know what you think the loser's punishment should be. And we will take it into consideration. And sooner rather than later, we will announce what the loser is doing for the punishment. So make sure to look out for that. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Game 1. We have got Florida traveling to Utah, take on the Utes, a game that was played last year in Gainesville. Remember, Anthony Richardson and Florida were able to take down the higher-rated Utah Utes, this time up in Utah. Sam, who do you got in this game?
Yeah, the matchup going into this, the story everyone's talking about is Graham Mertz, the Wisconsin transfer, coming in, facing on the well-established Cam Rising. Cam Rising is coming off an ACL injury, I believe. So that's kind of the main storyline. I'm going to take the experience with his guys. I got Utah and Cam Rising here.
Yeah, I hate to agree, but I'm going to stick with the Utes here as well, especially last year. I think Utah's going to be pretty fired up to play Florida.
Yeah.
I think they lost to last year. You mentioned the experience from Cam Rising, also this time in Utah. How does Florida travel when it's more than, a state or two away in that southern part of the country? So I'm going to go with Utah. I'm going to go with the better team, more experienced quarterback. Give me the Utes.
Yeah.
Next game, I think we're going to agree here too. We have, of course, Utah State and Iowa. We do got to pick this one. Iowa has a knack to lose some of these games every once in a while. But of course, number 25 ranked Hawkeyes at home. Sam.
Yeah, I got Iowa, but what is a little crazy to me is they are 25-point favorites.
Seems like a lot.
Which if we were playing spread, which we might once the schedule gets a little better, I might take Utah State with the points, because when was the last time Iowa beat a team by 25?
I mean, that's a Brian Ferentz contract average worth
Yep.
spread.
Yeah.
Right? So interestingly enough, but again, we
Yeah.
just talked about at length as to why we think Iowa will be better. And I think Utah State is a good measuring stick
Yeah.
to see exactly how far they've come. Next game, we've
Yeah.
got Coach Prime in his Colorado debut, traveling to Fort Worth to take on the Horned Frogs of TCU. Of course, the runner-up from last year, however, lost Quentin Johnston, lost Max Duggan.
Yeah.
Who do you got in this game?
Yeah, I got TCU. I think Coach Prime isn't ready for D1 ball. I think Colorado is going to struggle this year. They got some guys. His son Shadur, their running back from Jackson State as well. But I think it's going to take a little bit of time for Colorado, basically Jackson State 2.0, to gel together, to adjust to D1, Power 5 football. I got TCU here.
I'm going to go with Coach Prime. Give me the Buffs on the road. Now, I don't think what you said is untrue. I think Colorado definitely has some growing pains to go through as a squad under Coach Prime. But, I mean, I personally just love Coach Prime. Listening to him talk, makes me want to run through a wall and I don't run for anything. So, yeah, I think his boys are going to be ready to play. I think there are a lot of question marks in TCU, losing obviously their quarterback, losing their number one wide receiver too. Yeah. It was a pretty dynamic combination in their way to a national championship appearance. So I think there's going to be a little bit of a transition period over in Fort Worth. And that's why I think I'm going to go with the Buffaloes. I think the hype's going to come out hot. If they're going to win this game, then I think after a week one win, they maybe find out things aren't as easy as week one showed them they would be. So give me the Buffs here.
Okay.
Next game, we have number 7, Penn State, traveling to Morgantown to take on the Mountaineers of West Virginia. Sam, who you got in this game?
Yeah, I got Penn State. Their pass rush is a lot of their pass rush is coming back this year. They have the potential to be best in the Big Ten this year. They do have an inexperienced quarterback in Drew Allar, but he's coming in 5-star quarterback. I think it's going to be a quick adjustment, but I think he gets it done. And I got Penn State here.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this one. That defense is just too nasty. Penn State wins this game. I think maybe in the first half it's a little close. Then they pull away in the second half. Yeah, like you said, the new starting quarterback, that offense might struggle a little bit, but that defense is going to keep West Virginia down all game long. It's going to be tough for the Mountaineers to score points. I've got the Nittany Lions.
Yeah.
Our next game, the Battle of the Carolinas, number 21 UNC, and dare I say Heisman hopeful Drake May.
Yeah,
traveling down to their southern, across the southern border to South Carolina.
Yeah,
and facing off against the Gamecocks. Sam, who you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm never gonna pick Spencer Rattler in a big time game, so I'm going UNC here. I like what Drake May is. He second in running for Heisman right now, behind Caleb Williams, of course. I got UNC. I like Drake May. I like what they're doing down there, so I got UNC.
That's fair. Going with your boy Mac Brown. I will not be doing that. I'm exactly going to go with Spencer Rattler in a big time game. I think his second year in the system will be very beneficial. I mean, the talent is there. The talent has always been there. It's always been about decision making. It's been about reading defenses. It's been about comfortability in the scheme, all that stuff, which I think Spencer Rattler will have a much better job doing this time. I don't trust UNC. I think their defense is very suspect. And I think in Carolina or South Carolina, can't just call them Carolina in this game. South Carolina is a very tough team to play at home. You remember when Tennessee rolled into town last year and they kind of beat them down.
Spencer Rattler went crazy.
Spencer Rattler went crazy. You see the talent that I mentioned before. I think at home they will be able to get this one done and come out with a bang in their first game. and take down UNC. So give me the Gamecocks, baby. And then lastly, we have another rematch from the year before. LSU versus FSU, of course, that being Florida State. This game last year was an absolute banger. Remember was it a blocked extra point
Yeah.
that sealed the game? It was awesome. Very fun game. Probably the game of the week in week one last year. Both teams are much improved.
Yeah.
Should be a much more heavy game in terms of its weight on future standings and where things sit for the playoff. Who you got in this one?
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun one. Probably the best game. Actually not probably. It's gonna be the best game of week one. LSU coming back with Jane Daniels, another experience, another year of experience coming for him this season. Could be a potential dark horse for Heisman. I got LSU. I like Jane Daniels, what he did last year. Just another more experience. And also on that defensive line, all of their front seven is returning. So that's going to play a big part in this one. It's going to be a slugfest. It's going to be fun. It's going to be what college football is.
Totally. I'm so excited for this game, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to agree. I also have the Tigers in this game. I just think Florida State to me is just it's a step early with the early rankings like to do. We've seen it year after year with Texas and Nebraska and all these teams where they like to there's a teams got better, so they throw them into the top 25.
Yeah.
I just don't think this team is a top 10 team right now. LSU, I do think is you mentioned the big one for me, Jane Daniels. Absolute playmaker, what he can do with his arm, with his legs, and they're returning their entire front seven, as you said as well. It'll be too much for Florida State, so I got the Tigers in this one, but it should be a good one, and I'm hoping I'm wrong about Florida State. We could use a competitive ACC this year. Last year was kind of a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Not much going on there, but maybe them and Clemson can put together a case for the ACC in the college football playoff. But yeah, I'm going with the Tigers here.
Yeah.
So that's our pick 'em. I mean, week one is always going to be a little bit chalky. We're gonna agree a little bit. We got some cupcakes, even some of these like cross conference games with Colorado and TCU or future Big 12 conference foes, by the way, seem to be Penn State and West Virginia was what I was talking about, where definitely a team who's clearly favored in that.
Yeah.
So that's the problem with week
crazy,
one.
Though. The spreads of week one, we obviously have Iowa 25. TCU's favored by 20 and a half.
20 and a half? Buffs are coming in and winning on the road.
Yeah. Penn State 20 and a half. The closest, obviously, UNC, South Carolina, and LSU, FSU with 2.5 each. But yeah, kind of crazy.
Kind of crazy for sure. Let us know who you think are going to win these games. Of course, we are always wanting to hear from you. But yeah, and also let us know what you think our punishment should be.
Yeah,
because we're looking to make it a good one. So
yeah,
we're going to wrap up the episode with some questions. First question is from Eric Godsey. Sam, who are your top 5 Heisman candidates?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna have some overlap here, so I'm just gonna knock those out of the way. Caleb Williams, I mean, he's by far the front runner. Drake May's another one I'm looking at. Finished 4,321 yards, 38 touchdowns, and just 7 interceptions last year. Expecting more of the same this year. Sam Hartman, another guy. We saw him explode for Notre Dame. But looking at the other guys that aren't getting as much love, but should definitely be in the conversation. Starting out with Marvin Harrison Jr., the best wide receiver in the country. He had 77 catches, 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns. I'm expecting those numbers to increase without Jackson Smith and Jigba being alongside him. I think he's going to be a wide receiver one and a guy their inexperienced quarterback's going to be looking for. So that's one. I got Blake Corum from Michigan. Coming off an injury, was having a Heisman-like season. Got injured with 3 games left, kind of bumped him out of the race. 16 100 yards, 18 touchdowns, 5.9 yards per carry. He will be splitting time, but I still think he's going to be the guy that gets most touches. He's also effective in the passing game. And then kind of my dark horse candidate that a lot of people looked over last year, and that's Michael Penix Jr. from Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I did not realize how good he was last year. 4,641 yards, 31 touchdowns, and a 65% completion rate. Pretty weak Pac-12. Also known for not great defenses. So I expect him to put up similar numbers, maybe even more. It's just his story so wild because he was not good at Indiana, transfers out to Washington as a Heisman hopeful.
Yeah, it's a shame because he was actually very good in 2020. You know, the forgotten year. I think that was the year Indiana beat Penn State, and him and Ty Freifogel was the Indiana wide receiver. That connection was deadly. Indiana was very good that year, but with the truncated season and the lack of postseason, that kind of just goes by the wayside, and it's a shame because then they were highly rated the year after in 2021. He had a terrible year that year. He opened up against Iowa, actually, threw 2 pick sixes in that game. So, yeah, he had a rough final year in Indiana, goes to Washington, as you said, and it was absolutely cooking last year.
Yeah.
So that's a good list. We definitely do have some similar, but not all. So I think we're looking okay here. Of course, to start, I do have mine in order. So number one, obviously, when you're the incumbent, you won it last year, you're going to be the favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb Williams, looking for the repeat. Number two is actually a name you didn't say. However, he's on a team you did say. I'm going to Michigan as well, of course, but not the running back. I'm looking at JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's as dynamic as it gets too.
Yeah.
As a quarterback, I think Michigan's going to be very good. They're probably the favorite in the Big Ten right now, looking to get back in the college football playoff this time for the 3rd year in a row and maybe win a playoff game. Something they're looking to do for the first time. Number 3, I'm throwing in my token non-quarterback. It's the same one you had, Marvin Harrison Jr. Absolute beast. He's going to be the number 1 wide receiver draft. Without Chris or without Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah.
It's just the Ohio State wide receiver machine is just going crazy.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, without Smith and Jigba, clear wide receiver 1, and yeah, he's crazy good. Number 4 is a name we mentioned. You didn't name him in your list, though. I got Jane Daniels from LSU.
Yeah.
The dude, I mentioned playmakers. Love big-time playmaker. Jane Daniels should be a much better season for LSU, competing in that SEC West. And then to wrap it up is also my dark horse, someone we haven't talked about yet. I'm going to throw it out there. We usually make fun of people for propping up this team, but of course, I do have to throw him in there. He was looking really good last year. I'm going to go with Quinn Ewers from Texas. I think this guy can throw the football. He can sling the rock, and a healthy season.
Did cut his mullet, though.
He did cut his mullet. Definitely takes a little bit against him. But a healthy season last year, and yeah, I think he can put up some numbers and make a case for himself. So for my number 5 and my quote unquote dark horse, I'm going with Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, that's a good one. Definitely being talked about in that conversation for sure.
We also had another question from Jaron
Kirkendall.
Thank you.
One day you'll get.
One day. He said, were you guys disappointed with Swamp Kings? That is not something we've watched yet. So we will answer that question in either next week or if not, then the week after, whenever we get around to watching it. But from what I've heard, we probably will be.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
But it's all right. Hoping it's good. Maybe it'll surprise us. And then to wrap things up from Ryan Kearney, he asked, who is the most underrated college football coach?
Yeah, there's a lot out there. A lot of names that are doing things that go under where you got, because it seems like the only 3 main coaches that are talked about, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, and Jim Harbaugh. Those are the guys that, and Coach Prime, but that's for another reason. For me, I think I'm going Luke Leopold from Kansas.
Yeah.
Taking a laughing stock of a football program in Kansas, leading them to a bowl game. I can't remember which one.
They played Arkansas.
Ended up playing Arkansas. It was the craziest bowl game last year. Was undefeated. They were like
undefeated for a long time.
undefeated. Their quarterback, excuse me, went down. He's rebuilding that historically bad football program up, and I don't think he's getting enough credit for it. I'm going Luke Leopold here.
Yeah, I do like that. I mean, I'm to be frank, I'm shocked he's still with Kansas. I felt
Yeah.
like he was a big time candidate.
Yeah,
to get
me
poached
too.
Away, but he decided to stick it out with the Jayhawks, and yeah, as you said, that should be commended. Out of nowhere, and they won a lot of football games last year. So that's tough to do. Mine is gonna go. I'm gonna go with. Excuse me, a coach who I feel like everyone knows is good in the college game, but we seem to forget how good he is
Yeah.
because of an unfortunate stint in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy,
I think I
is
know where you're
someone
going.
by the name
Yeah.
of Chip Kelly.
Yep.
Of course, at Oregon, he was an absolute stud. That team was incredible. Some of the best offenses, most fun football to watch. We can go through the names. The Marcus Mariota's, your
the Anthony Thomas,
James, the Anthony Thomas,
Kenyon Barner.
I don't even know. I don't know if he coached the Garrett Blunt too, or if he was a little bit too old for him. But those Oregon teams, I don't think he ever won a national championship, but he made a few. I know he had lost to Auburn, and he had lost to Florida State.
I think he lost to the Jameis Winston.
Yeah, and if it wasn't, I think that might have been a semifinal game. It might have been I don't really remember. But yeah, they were all over the playoff. They were all over the BCS bowl games before the playoff was instituted. So that team was really good. And of course, Chip Kelly was the reason why. So much so he got an NFL job. 49ers, Eagles, went around, whatever. Didn't really work out.
No.
Came back to the college game. Took over a program by the name of UCLA, one who had kind of been down in the dumps. And pretty shortly, he turned them around. I mean, in their last two seasons, they are 8-4 and 9-4 under Chip Kelly. Yeah, he did a pretty nice job there. Got a few pretty big names into UCLA. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, their quarterback.
I was just about to ask. Yep.
Now with the Browns, doing some things in preseason.
Yeah, there you go.
And then also Zach Charbonnet, their running back.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. Them two were an absolute force on the ground. Led them to 17-8 record over those 2 years. Competed in the Pac-12, and that's in a few short years with Mr. Kelly. As soon as he got a system in, was able to recruit, turn that around. So, Chip Kelly can coach in the college game. Most of y'all seem to forget that because of his stint in the NFL.
Yeah, definitely.
But this dude can coach.
Yeah, absolutely. He never should have left Oregon.
Never should have left Oregon, but it happens. Do what you got to do when the NFL comes calling. But anything else you got to talk about in this episode? We covered a lot in 99. Started off with our winners and losers, of course, went on to some documentaries, looked at week 0, talked about some Iowa football outlook, Pick'em's back, and of course, wrapped it up with questions.
Yeah, man.
You guys made it to the end of the episode. Shout out to you. That's going to do it. That is going to do it for us. Make sure to follow the podcast at crunchtime_pod on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. You can follow us on YouTube. See all the podcast videos. That is Crunch Time with the N326 Duo. Of course, we're on Spotify. Anywhere you get your podcasts. You can follow Sam at.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Sam_Godsey21 and Twitter, SamGodsey29.
And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at TDislin22. Let us know who you think are winning these games. Let us know what our punishment should be. Let us know what you think about the docs. Let us know. We're always asking for questions. Always want to hear from you guys. But the clock has run out on this episode. We'll see you in the next one on Crunch Time.
Go Hawks and move big, baby.
I'll see you.